Welcome back. In our last episode, we talked about the assignment of the HIPAA privacy and security officers. One of the first things your privacy officer should do is to create your Notice of Privacy Practices, or NPP. If you already have an NPP, it should be reviewed since there have been changes to the regulations. Just a couple of quick notes before we start. The lesson slides forward automatically, but feel free to use the player controls at the bottom of the screen. Check out the Resources tab at the top left of the screen to find links to HIPAA general information from the Department of Health and Human Services, links to other HIPAA information specific to the lesson topic, and contact information for Lake House Consulting. Let's get started. The Notice of Privacy Practices is a document that describes how the privacy rule allows a provider to use and disclose protected health information. When patient permission is necessary before health records are shared, the organization's duty to protect health information privacy, patient rights, including the right to complain to HHS and to the organization if they believe their privacy rights have been violated, and how to contact the organization for more information and to make a complaint. Practices are required to provide a Notice of Privacy Practices to patients upon request. A lot of practices provide their NPP to patients on the patient's first visit. They also ask the patient to sign a receipt for the NPP as proof it was provided. If a practice maintains a website that describes their services, they're required to post their NPP to that website. Lastly, practices should post their NPP to a bulletin board where patients can see it. The NPP is one requirement the government makes easy by providing templates. We've posted a link to the model NPPs on the Resources tab. You'll find different layouts in PDF and text versions, and even a Spanish language version. The models come complete with instructions and guidance so that you can plug in a few required elements and then you're done. The best thing is that the models reflect the most recent changes to the regulation. HIPAA regulations outline several required elements for your NPP. Most required elements are already baked into the models HHS.gov provides. These are the major required elements: header information, a section on uses and disclosures, individual rights, the covered entities or the practice's duties, complaint information, contact information, and an effective date for the notice. Your NPP must contain this exact statement in the header. This notice describes how medical information about you may be used and disclosed and how you can get access to this information. Please review it carefully. The NPP must contain a description and example of the types of allowable uses and disclosures for treatment, payment, and healthcare operations. The example on the slide shows that the practice can share information with other professionals who are treating you, along with an example of how that might happen. The NPP must also state other purposes the practice is permitted or required to use or disclose protected health information without written consent. The example shows the practice may share protected health information to help with public health and safety issues. Also required are uses and disclosures that require patient authorization. This example shows some of the situations where patient authorization is required. The notice must contain a statement of the individual's rights and a brief description of how the individual may exercise these rights. In this example, the right to get an electronic or paper copy of the patient's medical records is explained. The notice must contain a statement concerning the covered entities or practices' legal responsibilities with respect to protected health information, and a statement that the covered entity is required to abide by the terms of the notice currently in effect. You must include a statement that the practice reserves the right to change the terms of its notice and to make the new notice provisions effective for all protected health information that it maintains. The notice must contain a statement that individuals may complain to the covered entity or practice and to the Secretary of HHS if they believe their privacy rights have been violated. A brief description of how the individual may file a complaint with the covered entity, and a statement that the individual will not be retaliated against for filing a complaint. The notice must contain the name or title and telephone number of a person or office to contact for further information. This person should be the assigned privacy officer we mentioned in episode 2. And finally, the notice must contain the date on which the notice is first in effect. So to wrap things up, the Notice of Privacy Practices is required by the Privacy Rule. As you can tell, it has several required sections, some with very specific wording requirements. The good news is HHS.gov does most of the work for you. Again, we'll post a link to the HHS.gov Notice of Privacy Practice models on the Resources tab. In our next episode, we'll discuss the minimum necessary rule. If you'd like us to cover a specific topic or need any help with HIPAA compliance, feel free to drop us a note. We've posted contact links on the Resources tab at the top left corner of this window. We'd love to hear from you. Have a great week.